Welcome to part 1 of my Vampire Race Guide. In this section we'll be going over the campaign strategy, including the starting situation and where to expand from there. This guide is based on my personal experience and opinions and is by no means the definitive way to play the vampires. If you have a different strategy or want to add something to mine, please leave a comment down below. Now that's out of the way, let's get into the video. The Vampires campaign gameplay centres around corruption, vampiric corruption to be exact. It's what keeps your provinces happy and your armies healthy, as without it, public order in a province will fall by a huge amount and your armies will suffer from attrition. Not to worry though, as there are many ways to increase the amount of corruption in an area. In owned settlements, the population will cause it to increase by default, but if the entire province is not owned, this can sometimes not be enough. Buildings can be constructed to increase corruption further in both the local and adjacent provinces. Research has a similar effect across all owned settlements, and lords and heroes can be upgraded to affect the local province. In the vanilla game there is a local populace penalty for the corruption, based on who the land originally belonged to. This can be removed by the use of mod, which I would highly recommend as it makes expansion much easier. However, corruption is not only a good thing for your provinces and armies. A high level of vampiric corruption causes any non-vampire armies to suffer heavy attrition when moving outside of a settlement or raiding stance. This is incredibly useful from a defensive point of view, but when you realise it can also be used offensively, that's where the real fun begins.
This is where the fun begins.
Buildings, research and characters can be used to cause corruption in adjacent provinces to those you own. This means that not only can you move your armies into foreign lands without suffering attrition, but nearby non-vampire factions will suffer huge public order penalties unless they actively combat the corruption. Other factions obviously aren't huge fans of this, and as such vampires suffer severe diplomatic penalties with non-vampires. This makes trade and other diplomacy very difficult. Outside of corruption, the vampires have another feature that is as unique as it is powerful. Replacing the normal function of global recruitment, the ability to raise dead from the campaign map can replenish weak armies in the span of a single turn. Bear in mind that the pool of units that can be raised is very limited depending on your location. By default you can only raise 3 to 4 units per turn, and the choice is usually limited to zombies, skeleton warriors and skeleton spearmen. However, if you are near to a location of a major battle that has occurred earlier in the campaign, the pool increases in both quantity and quality, with the ability to raise elite units such as Graveguard or Cairn Wraiths and many more of them. Like all factions that inhabit settlements, the vampires have access to several commandments that affect the province with different buffs. The first is the Evocation of Nagash. Enacting this commandment will grant +1 recruit rank to all units and +1 to the recruitment capacity of the province. Foster Terror will encourage growth by 20 per turn and increase the vampiric corruption by 1 in the province. Harvest Corpses will increase the income from tax in the province by 5%, and finally Repress Mortals will increase public order by 4. Another thing you should know about the vampires in the campaign is the preference of climate. They have no trouble at all in wastelands, temperate, jungle or desert areas, but in islands, mountains, savannas or frozen areas they will start to suffer from unpleasant debuffs. In magical forests or the chaotic wastelands, the debuffs will be uninhabitable and require a lot of time and resources to make the land livable. The start of the vampire campaign for the Counts puts you in Castle Drakenhof with one of 3 legendary lords which we'll cover in the next section. You start a fat war with the Templehof faction, who are quite weak and easily destroyed within at most 30 turns if you focus on them. Once you secure your starting province, you'll be given a mission battle for your faction leader that will grant you a gold sigil sword and a necromancer hero. Once Templehof are either destroyed or subjugated, your next expansion can be one of a few options. Depending on your treaties with the von Carsteins, you could pass through their lands to invade the border princes in the south, and beyond that the orcs and dwarves. Almost all the land to the south is habitable wastelands and desert, so it'll make for a fairly easy expansion as long as you spread corruption at an adequate rate. If you choose to expand directly north, you will run into a number of human factions, such as Talabekland and Ostermark. But if the Empire does not come to their aid, then you should have no trouble expanding all the way to the top of the map in the frozen north in no time at all. If you manage to get the von Carsteins to like you enough and can amass a military and economic power strong enough, it will be easy to confederate them and gain access to Vlad and Isabella, who will be invaluable additions to your armies. Overall, the start of the Vampires is one of the better ones, as it has plenty of expansion options in the immediate vicinity without being too close to any of the major factions, so it can avoid a difficult early war. The von Carsteins start in Swartzhaven in western Sylvania with one of 2 legendary lords. They have basically the same start and strategy as the Counts aside from location, starting war, and the unique building chain they have access to in Castle Drakenhof. The Mausoleum of the Mad Count can only be built by the von Carsteins in this settlement and gives access to the recruitment of vampire heroes much earlier than they would normally be available. This means it is wise to either go to war with or confederate the Counts as soon as you can, so you can access this ability. That concludes this section of the guide on campaign strategy. The next section will cover the unit roster and how I believe each unit is best used, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching this section of my Vampire Race Guide. If you want to check out the other parts, there's a link in the card and in the description to the playlist for the series. If you enjoyed this video at any point, please consider leaving a like as it really does help out a lot. And if you want to see more of this type of video, maybe click that subscribe button so you can stay up to date. After all, it is free. For now though, I was Colonel Damneders, and I'll see you next turn.